Sunday, April 16th. You are listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. We have a very spooky event that took place last week in the Fort Lauderdale, Florida area. Unbelievable amounts of rain. And what's very interesting about this situation is that people were talking about the low pressure system over the Gulf of Mexico possibly becoming a tropical storm or gaining tropical characteristics. The low pressure system never really was forecasted to become a tropical storm, and it never did become a tropical storm. It continued to get its energy from the land, and nothing like this was really forecasted to happen. Heavy rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches is what was forecasted, and then that combined with the fact that the storm would be situated over the area for a long period of time, and the fact that the sea level is already high, and the continuous wind, that would likely cause coastal flooding for much of the central Gulf states, especially places like New Orleans, Louisiana. What ended up happening is something totally remarkable, as if those words that was put out really like on social media, not really the mainstream meteorologists to my knowledge, but those words of a tropical storm, those effects, it had those effects for real. You might as well could have prepared for a tropical storm. There was really no way for forecasters to forecast this, and that's what makes this so remarkable. That's one element that makes this so remarkable, is that this was from a stalled front, from this low pressure system, where a storm just developed and it remained stationary over Fort Lauderdale. And there's enormous amounts of precipitation that came down, 25.91 inches within a 24-hour period or so, which is the rain was falling at the rate of 6 inches an hour at times. To put that into perspective, imagine this falling as snow. That would be 60 inches of snow an hour. That would be 250 inches of snow over a 24-hour period. I mean, it's an enormous amount of precipitation. And it was very isolated. So this wasn't forecasted. It's just unbelievable. If it would have been a tropical storm, people would have been well prepared for it, since those things move so slow, and it would have been more of a widespread event. This was not a tropical storm. There was just regular heavy rain forecasted, and this really shows you there's a need to have higher resolution computer models. The computer models, we all know that the computer models do not have high enough resolution to forecast thunderstorms well enough, but to predict this type of a catastrophe is something which is rare. This is something that there's an urgent need for higher resolution computer models to forecast stuff like this, and we just don't have it. This is one of the rare occurrences. I think we're even with all the forecasting knowledge that we have in advance, all the warnings and everything like that, even being aware of all the possibilities, I don't think there would have been a way, or there was a way, to communicate such a forecast, or even that this was a possibility. Even though it was known that this was a remote possibility to the National Weather Service of this happening, this was a possible outcome, reports the Washington Post, quoting the National Weather Service, but it was not known where this could happen. And also another thing is that really the method in which this happened is very similar to the stuff that happened in 1993 on the Mississippi River in the St. Louis area. It was just a front that just daily tremendous downpours would come, and you had the initial event was probably a 6-inch rainfall over a very short period of time, and that produced tremendous floods, the floods of 1993. So these stationary fronts where you have tropical moisture going across the front, these things are powerful, produce very heavy rain, and in this case, it was not predictable. From what I understand, it was not forecasted to produce this amount of rain. People living in Fort Lauderdale apparently have reported as saying that they've never seen floods like this ever. There's never been anything. This is an area that has seen hurricanes, powerful hurricanes in the past. They've never seen anything like this ever. This is something which is even the people, even climate change and all that, it does not explain the event. This is a 1 in 1,000 year event, says the Matthew on the Washington Post meteorologist, and I love those statistics. We have that Northwest Pacific heat wave that we said happens every 4,776 years. This happens about once every 1,000 years. So, this is some type of a freak occurrence. It's difficult to fit climate change into this. This is what he was saying is really just it was like it initially started from just randomness in the atmosphere, and it just situated, everything got together right over that town, Fort Lauderdale, and produced enormous amounts of rain. And people could always say that, the increase in temperatures could always have contributed inches of rain, but this entire event, even, the fact that the thing was stationary, the whole, and how isolated it was, there's so many variables involved in this that this was really just a freak occurrence, something that occurs approximately 1 every 1,000 years, or has about 0.1% chance of happening any single individual year. It's one of the rare occurrences where rainfall accumulation could produce a racing heart of it's something that we would not expect in the times that we live in right now, to not be aware, to not be warned that something like this will be happening in advance. And I say it's spooky because the social media meteorologists, they were mentioning a possible development of a tropical storm, even though that wasn't really what was going to happen. But sometimes perhaps news maybe should be taken seriously if people would have been prepared for a tropical storm, as if that would have happened. I don't know. It's hard to prepare for something which is not really forecasted to happen. And the thing never really was a tropical storm. In any case, moving right along into the Midwest this week, we have just one event after another. We have plenty of tornadoes that hit the St. Louis area yesterday. Those videos are out with tornado sirens and strong thunderstorms all across the Missouri and areas south of there in response to a storm system that currently is forecasted to bring phenomenal amounts of snow. It's almost like you can't even believe what you're hearing. We have places up, the National Weather Service in the upper Midwest has issued winter storm warnings for generally speaking, the bullseye is 6 to 12 inches with locally higher amounts, but we have a place, Iron County, the National Weather Service is saying 14 to 18 inches, and they're taking off. The snow that falls during the day might not be accumulating. So they're saying it's gonna be a night. Anything that falls at night is gonna accumulate rapidly. So this is a powerful storm to accumulate this amount of snow at this time of year. For it to even be forecasted, it shows the intensity of this system. Lots of snow with this storm system. Things warm up greatly as we get into the middle part of the week, into the end part of the week. But I saw on the European computer model some more excitement in regards to the Arctic air situation for the beginning part of next week, which I will wait to speak about perhaps at a later time. We do have that colliding with a storm system again here in the Midwest with Gulf of Mexico air. We have on Thursday, there's a good chance, I think we will be seeing severe weather in the Missouri area and areas surrounding Missouri with warm and humid conditions as the next storm system approaches the area. But for now, we could enjoy, the East Coast could enjoy really warm temperatures for today, as high temperatures I believe we'll be going into the mid-80s for parts of the mid-Atlantic area, maybe even places further north. And that really cold air right now, almost like a historical Arctic outbreak for this time of the year that's producing all this heavy snow, is not really going to make it to the East Coast. It's going to get colder there, but, it's hard to maintain coldness this time of the year unless you have a snowpack on the ground. The sun's angle is just so strong this time of the year. We're just about reaching August level sunshine. August level sunshine starts around April 15th, or April 14th even. So we're already in summer sunshine strength. So it's difficult to maintain coldness unless you have snow on the ground. Again, another snowstorm, perhaps the beginning part of next week, as that storm moves across the upper Midwest again, but we have to wait on the details in regards to that. With a severe weather outbreak possible Thursday, a big warm-up again for the end of this week. We also should mention that Florida is in the process of recovering from a drought, and usually these types of situations do nothing to the drought. When you have an isolated spot that gets 25 inches of rain, it doesn't really help the drought, and all it does is causes flooding. But the system in general was forecasted to bring a widespread couple inches of rain. So it's going to take a long time to eliminate the Florida drought right now, but at least this is something. And these floods are just something really, really phenomenal. And there's not really much more to say about it other than that. And we do not have the equipment to forecast these things in advance. That's what makes this worse than any other event. Anything else that we speak about, hurricanes, tropical storms, tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, all these things have warnings, there's watches, all of these things. But this type of an event, a flooding, an isolated flooding event, something like this, record flooding, they've never seen flooding like this, and yet there's no computer model available right now that's able to forecast something like this because of the high resolution that's required for thunderstorm forecasting. I wish everyone a wonderful week and enjoy. We're going to be having much warmer weather for people living in the upper Midwest. You have a snowstorm right now, so just think of it like this. You have one day excitement of really intense snow, but things will warm up by the end of the week, and we even have, well, for the people who love thunderstorms and stuff, we have that coming up on Thursday here in the Midwest. The severe storm Prediction Center has put much of Missouri in at least a marginal, it's either a 1 out of 5 or a 2 out of 5 category risk for severe weather this upcoming Thursday. You've been listening to the podcast Weather with Enthusiasm.